What's your favorite song of your dad's? Can you give one?
No, I don't really have. There's just too many good ones.
Yeah.
There's just too many good ones, man. Honky Tonk Blues would be right at the top.
Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the legendary life of Hank Williams Jr. From his country superstar lifestyle and impressive earnings to the latest newsmaking waves. If you love country music and a good success story, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an update. Let's get into it. Alright, let's dive into where Hank Williams Jr. likes to splash his cash. This guy's been cranking out country hits for decades, so you know he's got a pretty hefty bank account to play with. What does the man they call Bo Cephas spend it on? Spoiler alert, it's not fancy yachts or diamond-studded cowboy hats. Hank's got his own vibe going. First off, hunting is basically his religion. Hank Jr. doesn't just sing about the country life. He's out there living it, boots in the dirt and all. He's scooped up huge chunks of land, perfect for chasing deer, turkey, or even the occasional bear. This isn't some casual weekend hobby either. He's dropping big bucks on top-notch rifles, camo gear that'd make a sniper jealous, and keeping those sprawling properties in tip-top shape. Check his social media, and you'll see him grinning next to some impressive trophies. He's not shy about showing off the haul. Then there's fishing, his other outdoor obsession. It's like hunting's chill cousin for Hank. Whether he's kicking back on a quiet lake or heading out for a big coastal adventure, he's all in. And trust me, he's not skimping on the setup. Think high-end fishing rods, slick boats, and all the gadgets a guy could need to reel in the big ones. With multiple spots to cast a line, it's clear he's invested some serious dough to keep this passion afloat. Music's another big chunk of his spending pie. Shocking, right? Even after all these years, Hank Jr.'s still pouring money into his craft. We're talking state-of-the-art studio time, plus a collection of guitars that'd make any musician drool. Rare finds, custom pieces, you name it, he's probably got it. For him, it's not just about the paycheck, it's about keeping that musical fire burning, and he's willing to shell out for the best tools to make it happen. And when he's not out in the wild or strumming away, Hank's all about good vibes with good people. He loves hosting friends and family on his land, firing up the grill, and digging into some hearty grub. It's not flashy, but it's real, spending on quality time and tasty meals with the folks who matter most. That's where you see the softer side of Bo Cephas come out. So, what's the bottom line? Hank Williams Jr. puts his money where his heart is, hunting, fishing, music, and kicking back with loved ones. He's built a life that's loud, rugged, and unapologetically his own. And when you're a country icon like him, that's exactly how it should be. Alright, we've covered how Hank Williams Jr. spends his cash, living that wild country dream with hunting, fishing, and music. But what about the man behind the legend? Let's shift gears and talk about his relationships and personal life. Because Bo Cephas isn't just about rifles and guitars. He's got a heart, and it's been through some real twists and turns. Hank Jr.'s story kicks off with a legacy that's tough to shake. Born to the iconic Hank Williams Sr., he was practically raised in the shadow of a country music giant. His mom, Audrey, was a force too. She pushed him into the spotlight young, having him perform his dad's songs by age 8. That kind of upbringing? It's intense, and it set the stage for a life that's been anything but ordinary. When it comes to love, Hank's had his share of chapters. His first big romance was with Gwen Jurgen. They tied the knot back in '71, and pretty soon, they welcomed a son, Hank Williams III. Yep, keeping that family name rolling. But things didn't last. By '77, they'd split, and Hank was on his own again. It wasn't long, though, before he found himself falling for Becky White. They said I do that same year, and 2 daughters, Hillary and Holly, came along. Life seemed sweet for a minute, but the road got rocky, and that marriage fizzled out by '83. Then came Mary Jane Thomas, the one who stuck around the longest. They met in '86 at one of his shows. Classic country love story, right? They got hitched in '90, and together they had 2 kids, Katie and Samuel. Now, this relationship, it was a roller coaster. They split up a couple of times, once in 2007, but patched things up after a stint apart. Mary Jane was by his side through some wild highs and brutal lows, like that near-fatal mountain fall in '75 that reshaped his face and his life. She stuck with him, and you could tell she was a big piece of his world. But tragedy hit hard in 2022 when Mary Jane passed away unexpectedly after a medical procedure. That loss shook Hank deep. Losing a partner of over 30 years isn't something you just shrug off. Family's always been a big deal for him, though. His kids are a tight crew. Hank III is out there doing his own punk country thing, while Hillary and Holly have dipped their toes in music too. Katie's a singer-songwriter, and Samuel's got his own band going. Hank's proud as hell of them, even if they don't all follow his exact path. He's the kind of dad who's been through the ringer himself, so he gets it. Life's messy, and he's there for them no matter what. And these days? Well, Hank's not one to sit still even after heartbreak. He's always been a guy who lives big, whether it's on stage, in the woods, or with the people he loves. There's a spark in him that doesn't quit, and you can bet he's got some new stories brewing in that personal life of his. Okay, we've just unpacked Hank Williams Jr.'s wild ride through relationships and family life, love, loss, and all the messy stuff in between. But hold on to your hats, because there's a fresh chapter unfolding, and it's all about his new wife, Brandy Williams. Yep, Bo Cephas is back in the game, and this one's got folks buzzing. So after everything, decades of marriages, kids, and that gut punch of losing Mary Jane in 2022, Hank wasn't about to let life keep him down. Enter Brandy Williams, a name that started popping up on his radar in hours not too long ago. These two didn't just meet at some bar over a whiskey shot. They've actually known each other for years, since 2003 to be exact. Friends for 2 decades. Can you believe that? It's like something out of a slow-burn country song, where the chorus finally hits when you least expect it. Fast forward to 2023, and things took a turn for the romantic. Picture this. Mother's Day rolls around, and Hank decides it's the perfect moment to pop the question. No big public hoopla, just a quiet, sweet move between two people who've been in each other's orbits forever. By September, yep, just a few months later, they're saying "I do" at a little church in Banks, Alabama. Enon Baptist Church, to be precise, with a tight-knit crew of family and friends watching them seal the deal. Then they partied it up at Kendall Hall in Troy. Small, simple, and totally Hank's style. Now, Brandy's not some mystery woman stepping out of the shadows. She's been showing up on Hank's social media for a while. Hunting deer in camo, reeling in fish on the 4th of July, just vibing with him in that rugged, outdoorsy life they both love. She's got 3 kids from a previous marriage, and Hank's bringing his 5 into the mix, so you know this is a full-on family affair. They're blending their worlds, and from the looks of it, they're having a blast doing it. What's cool about this is how it feels like Hank's coming full circle. After all the heartbreak, losing Mary Jane, losing his daughter Katie, this guy's still got that fire to live big and love hard. Brandy's not just a new face, she's a familiar one who's been there through thick and thin, and now they're writing a new verse together. You can almost hear Hank crooning about it in one of his tunes. Gruff voice, big heart, and a whole lot of grit. But now, let's talk about something else that's always buzzing around a legend like Hank. Money. How does Bo Cephas rake it in? And just how much has he stacked up over the years? So where does Hank's cash come from? Well, it all starts with the music. Decades of cranking out hits that still get toes tapping and radios blaring. Albums like Family Tradition and Whiskey Bent and Hellbound didn't just make him a household name. They filled his pockets with royalties that keep on giving. Think about it. Every time A Country Boy Can Survive pops up on Spotify or a jukebox, Hank's cash register dings. And don't forget his Monday Night Football anthem, "All My Rowdy Friends Are Here on Monday Night." That gig alone was a goldmine, reportedly netting him a hefty chunk per season back in the day, and it still pays off through licensing deals. But Hank's not just sitting back counting streaming pennies. The man's a touring machine. Even in his 70s, he's out there packing venues with fans who've been rowdy since the 80s. Those live shows? They're big business. Ticket sales, merch like hats and tees, you name it. Back in his peak, he was pulling in serious dough per gig, and while the numbers might have mellowed a bit, a Hank Williams Jr. concert still means a fat payday. Plus, he's got a knack for popping up at festivals. like Rock the Country with Kid Rock, keeping that tour money flowing. So, how much has all this added up to? Word on the street, and by that, I mean solid estimates from folks who track celebrity bucks, is that Hank Williams Jr.'s net worth sits around $45 million as of now. That's not pocket change. It's a fortune built from those early days mimicking his dad's tunes, through the wild southern rock years, and right up to today's steady gigs and royalties. But where does all that cash take him when it's time to kick back? Let's roll into his real estate story and check out the kind of digs Bocephus calls home, because this guy doesn't just live anywhere. He's got properties as rugged and legendary as his tunes. So picture this. Hank's not one for flashy penthouses or Hollywood mansions. Nope. His real estate vibe is all about wide-open spaces and that country soul. One of his crown jewels is a massive spread in Tennessee, just outside Paris in Henry County. We're talking over 700 acres of pure wilderness, rolling hills, thick woods, and plenty of room to roam. This place has been his go-to for years, a sanctuary where he hunts, fishes, and just soaks up the quiet. It's got a big rustic house too. Think log cabin vibes but super-sized, with all the comforts a country star needs. Word is he's sunk a ton into keeping this land prime, from trails for his ATVs to stocked ponds for fishing. Then there's his Alabama connection. Hank's got deep roots there, born in Montgomery after all, and he's picked up property to match. One spot that's made headlines is his place near Cullman, about an hour north of Birmingham. It's another hefty chunk of land, perfect for his outdoorsy life. He's been spotted hunting deer and turkey there, and it's got that same secluded down-home feel he loves. Plus, it's not far from where he tied the knot with Brandy and Banks, so you know it's a spot that's close to his heart these days. Speaking of Brandy, their new chapter together has folks wondering where they're setting up camp. Hank's still got ties to Tennessee, but Alabama's been popping up more since the wedding. There's talk of a home in Troy, near where they celebrated their nuptials at Kendall Hall. Nothing confirmed on the exact address. Hank's pretty private about that. But it's a safe bet it's got space, nature, and maybe a barn or two. Gotta have room for the toys and the kids' visits, right? Now, Hank's real estate isn't just about living. It's an investment game too. Back in the day, he owned a sweet lakefront spot on Old Hickory Lake near Nashville, which he flipped for a cool profit. And there was that Montana ranch he picked up after his '75 accident, a 1,200-acre retreat where he recovered and hunted. He's since sold it, but it shows how he's always been savvy about buying big and cashing out when the time's right. These days, his focus seems locked on Tennessee and Alabama, places where he can live his lyrics, not just sing them. What ties it all together? Freedom. Hank's properties aren't status symbols. They're his playgrounds. Whether he's stalking game in Tennessee's forests or casting a line in Alabama's waters, these spots let him be the country boy he's always been. All right, let's shift gears now, literally, and talk about something else that gets Bocephus revved up, his cars and vehicles. So, what's Hank rolling around in? Well, one of the coolest rides tied to his story isn't even his. It's the infamous 1952 Cadillac Series 62 convertible, better known as the Hank Williams Death Car. Yeah, this is the car his dad, Hank Sr., was riding in when he passed away on New Year's Day, 1953. Hank Jr. got his hands on it later, and as a teenager, he was cruising it around Nashville like it was no big deal. Picture that, a kid driving the car that's now a country music relic. He eventually restored it and had it displayed at his museum in Nashville before it found a permanent home at the Hank Williams Museum in Montgomery. It's not in his garage anymore, but it's a wild piece of family history. Now, Hank's not just about vintage vibes. He's got a practical side too. He's been spotted over the years with a love for trucks, especially beefy ones like the Ford F-150. Makes sense, right? A guy with hundreds of acres needs something tough to haul gear, tow boats, or just bounce around the backwoods. And speaking of the outdoors, Hank's no stranger to off-road toys. ATVs are a big part of his life, perfect for tearing through the trails on his Tennessee property or scouting game in Alabama. He's been known to rave about four-wheelers on social media, showing off muddy rides with Brandy or the kids. Back in the day, there's a fun nugget from his past. He dabbled in drag racing. Around 1968, There's a photo floating around of a young Hank Jr. with a 1967 Chevy Camaro Z28, ready to burn rubber. It's not clear if he still owns it, but that muscle car energy fits his rebel streak perfectly. These days, with his net worth in the millions and a life split between properties, you'd think he might splurge on something fancy, a Bentley or a Tesla maybe? Nah, that's not Hank. He's more likely to roll up in a beat-up Jeep Wrangler or another truck that's seen some dirt. His rides are about function over flash, built for the hunt, the lake, or just getting from A to B with a cooler in the back. And with Brandy by his side, they're probably sharing the wheel on some of these adventures. Maybe even a side-by-side UTV for those romantic backcountry dates. Thanks for watching. What surprised you most? Comment below. If you enjoyed this, check out the videos on your screen. Like and subscribe for more. See you next time.